Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? And especially all you gardeners out there. This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Grow Hour. Big Earl, my brother, how the hell are you?
What's up? I'm good, man. How are you?
It's been a while, my friend. It's been a hot minute, man. It's been a few months. And even though you and I talk consistently, we just haven't had a chance to get a show together. A lot of shit's been going on, and we could talk about it another time. But it's good to see you, my friend. And I'm so stoked to do this show. But first, let's sesh up, man.
Yeah.
Let's sesh up. I am smoking the Seattle Chronic, bred by our friend Seattle Seed Chronic, grown by you, my friend. And this fucking strain, I tell you what, it does the body good.
Yeah.
It is.
I was lucky enough to get a couple of his plants, and they're all really, really good.
Seattle Chronic, baby. Seed Chronic. I appreciate this strain. I wish I can get more. This is, I mean, the smell, the taste. Oh, that was a good one. The high, though, it's all from the neck down. It makes the back pain go away. It makes life feel very nice.
Yeah.
What are you smoking on, my friend?
I wish I knew more about that one. I misidentified it or didn't identify. There was a mistake there where it ended up. That's why we call it the Seattle Chronic, because I have no idea what actual strain it is. I'm smoking Lava Cake. Went back.
I don't know. I smoked that the other night. I still got like 3 or 4 nugs left from the last batch you gave me, and
get you high.
I love that fucking strain.
Yeah, it's good.
It's such a nighttime sleep strain for me. I don't know how you're gonna fucking function in a minute here after you smoke that fucking J, the Lava Cake.
I'll smoke half of it. But it is a very like heady, in your face high. Not like small yields, but small flowers. Super resinous, super sticky, super everything you love. Lots of color, lots of lots of beautifulness in that Lava Cake.
It is. I mean, like I said, I've been sparingly using that now since I only have a few nugs left. But every time you have that on the menu, I ask you to bring me some of that because it's one of my favorite nighttime sleep strains. And when you told me you were growing, I said, "Oh my god, I haven't had Lava Cake in a few years. That is one of my faves." And you delivered, and it is a fucking amazing strain.
Yeah, it was circulating here in Michigan for a long time. The only reason it's probably not circulating anymore is because they've completely destroyed our caregiver stuff. So not like legally, but just methodologically, whatever.
Yep. I did the show yesterday with Mrs. Weedman. I did the Chronicles yesterday on Tuesday, and read Michigan sales and found out that Michigan's price per pound is now under $1,000. Average cost.
There's some people out there. There's signs here.
That's the average now. Yeah, that's the average now.
That's crazy. Well, hey, I can tell you this: unless you're growing huge amounts, which you're growing huge amounts, there's that argument that how good can it really be? But unless you're growing huge amounts, it doesn't get much lower than that before people stop. It just,
right.
So if you guys are out there, support some people that are wanting to do it right.
Yeah. How many caregivers you think are left in Michigan?
I mean, dude, since I've been done with shops, it's hard to tell. But I can tell you this. I've had to go in the last couple of years to like 3 or 4 different shops. Not because I want to, but because they literally close. Like 6 months after I found, okay, here's a new shop I like, they're closing. Okay, here's a new shop I like, they're closing. And the people left, like when I go to shops, it's only the biggest ones now. They have the lowest prices. A lot of the times, like very low prices, and they're dead. Like even on like seed days, I'll go out there and I'll meet Tarantula. I saw on a seed day at one of the biggest gardens. Like they do insane amounts of sales online. The one around here, I don't even want to say their name because I don't like them that much. But I was at a
no plugs for you.
No plugs for that garden. I was at a seed day that they were doing, and I was like, let me go, or it's like a 420 event. I don't know. It was some kind of event. This place is huge. It's a warehouse of warehouses. Like if the place is huge. And the shopping area for people is very small. But maybe 20 people there. Like just such a weird vibe almost. Like it's just not what it was, man. The grow shop back in the day was so badass.
Yeah,
People,
you used to talk about when you worked at the grow shop and how much
dude.
fun you had there.
It was fun. It reminded me a lot of the early days of when I was bartending. It was it was literally like Cheers. We would have people come in almost every day, not buy shit, and just talk to us for a while. Some of those people didn't even smoke. It was I'm growing for my wife, or I'm growing for whatever. My husband needs it, and but he can't grow, and it was they just needed information.
Right.
Every single person there grew. Every single person there grew for a very long time, uh, and everyone grew a little differently. And if you didn't have a solution, somebody had more than one.
Right.
Um, and that has been lost a lot, and it's really caused a really huge decline in our community's knowledge. Not only that, but now I think we've talked about this, but now this other industry, the other side of this industry, the legal side of this industry with the tens of thousands of employees, they're the majority. So when we get into this, like a lot of stuff me and you talk about isn't maybe popular sometimes, isn't maybe thought to even be right sometimes. But a lot of this comes from this other side of the industry who just they get lied to. And so like we were talking about remediation,
Mm-hmm.
oh, remediated this, and that. And like we all know what garbage remediation is. But if you talk to somebody in a garden who's doing that, oh no, it keeps it safe. It's this, it does that. Or you're like, it's just like and that's a small example of so many things. Um, and today we're kind of talking about the other side of one of those things, honestly. Because a lot of
Yes.
people, like some people do use some of this, what we're going to be talking about in those types of industries, but a lot of people don't because it's a little more expensive and it takes you being on the ball a little bit more.
And this is what we're going to be talking about today. This is all Big Earl. I'm just going to get to sit here, get stoned some more, and ask a couple of fucking questions. So it's just great. But organic IPM, using fungus and bacteria in your IPM.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty baked because, dude, I told you what, man, that's Seattle Chronic.
Beautiful strain.
Yes. So, what is commonly referred to as biologicals? I have no clue what a fucking biological is, so I'm super stoked to hear about this. So
It's
I'm sure I've heard it, but just I need to know.
it's
Inquiring
something
minds.
living. Yeah, when we talk about it, like with our IPM, it's something living. But usually when people talk about biologicals, they immediately think like ladybugs or maybe nematodes or whatever, a predatory mite. They usually think of like a bug, something a little bigger. But a biological IPM is also um, a little more recently, probably, than a lot of that other stuff, but it's also like a fungus and a bacteria, or different funguses and bacteria is more like, and they do a really good job. What these things do is they get in. What they've done is they found the biggest things, right? The biggest things that threaten cannabis, from Fusarium and Pythium to PM and botrytis and to the bugs to everything, right? And it's okay. How do we create something? They create something to compete with these things, not only compete but to attack them and beat them. And so
Pow,
you
pow,
literally use
pow.
molds, funguses, to get rid of mildews or to prevent from mildews, and or bacterias or funguses to kill bugs or to prevent different diseases. And it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. And the company we're going to be going through the most today is called BioWorks. Um, but it's literally like for Fusarium, Pythium, powdery mildew. Some of these biological funguses and bacteria, but funguses in general, I'm talking about here, are some of the only ways I've ever like gotten rid of root aphids.
Ooh.
And it wasn't just in like 5 plants; it was root aphids in a 91. They were really bad in a 91 light room, and the whole garden had them. And we were able to use a fungus to get rid of them. And root aphids, if anybody's ever had them, suck so bad. Um, they are so hard to get rid of. They're so hard to like even keep at bay, let alone get rid of. Especially in a plant, especially going through the different stages of that life of that plant. Um, and it was the first time that like, really made me believe in. Like, well, these things are some great
Little
options.
those little bastards, root
Yeah.
aphids. So
Oh,
let me
dude.
ask you a question. Which
Yeah.
one's worse? Root aphids or russet mites?
Oh God. Um, I would say it's harder to identify a root aphid problem, but it's harder to get rid of a russet mite problem.
Hmm,
Um, because root aphids look like fungus gnats and they live in the ball, like they like to like be down in the ball of your roots, and that's
right.
why it's so hard to get rid of them. Unless you're gonna do like a pyrethrin, like literally leave a pot in a bucket of pyrethrin soaking for however long. First off, I don't recommend that because pyrethrin can just literally straight up kill your plant if you don't use it right. It's a great product, don't get me wrong, but I've like watered with pyrethrin before. I like sold somebody a plant and it's literally killed my plant because I had it in a bag and it was not a good uh, times. Um, but the russet mites you can identify pretty once you're identifying the russet mites, it's kind of game over. But the root aphids, I feel like
Like fucking
get
Pac-Man.
misidentified for fungus gnats a lot. Yeah, no, I mean you can see stuff, but usually if you're seeing like some of the big problems with russets, like the new yellowing starting to die and stuff like that, you have a pretty big russet problem. And they're so little and they suck so bad and they'll go dormant. And I,
little
I
fuckers, we hate you.
yeah, but the root aphids they look like fungus gnats. So a lot of people will have, oh, I got these terrible fungus gnats. I use the mosquito dunks and I did this and I did that, and they'll say like 10 things that should get rid of fungus gnats. And I know some fungus gnats are harder than others. I'm not even, and sometimes they're in the drain and not in your pot. But
Mm.
then all of a sudden you say, okay, well, get that out, get a scope, Google, look up these side by side aphid versus fungus gnat. One, and I always get them mixed up, so I'm not even going to try to say which one is one, but one of them has a pointier ass and that the goes out a little bit past the wing, and one like with a rounded wing, and one of them has the longer wing and the ass is a little more rounded and it is not as long on the wing. And you
Gotcha.
literally need to get a sticky trap. You need that in your garden anyway, even if you don't have pests, because you're not going to know that you're starting to get pests without it. Get your scope on that bad boy.
Wait, hold on. Big Earl's tip of the day right there.
Yellow sticky traps every day.
Big Earl
Keep
tip.
them. And honestly, if you're doing shit right, it's not really that. Like I know it would suck to change them every week, but like for me, I don't change them every week. I change them every few weeks because really I don't have too many bugs that get on them. Like a few leaves here and there, and maybe a bug here and there for sure. Especially those little box elder bugs, those little bastards. Uh, oh man, we have 3 box elder trees. First off, they're the whirly. Oh my god, all over everything. And then these box elder bugs, just they're relentless. I spray the shit out of them with
Little
DE.
bastards.
Yeah, dude, I go out there with DE. I just fucking. The neighbors don't know what's going on. I just got clouds.
Hey, be careful with that hand gesture. There's kids that watch this show.
Yeah, that's true. Go out there. Yeah, that's true. I but that it's a Decordian like thing, so it wasn't inaccurate. But if you guys aren't protecting your house with DE,
Oh
get
yeah,
on it.
Diamascus Earth, man. Put that all over everywhere. It's
Fucking
amazing.
everywhere. It's cheap.
Put it
You can
in
get little blowers.
every crack and crevice of your house.
Yo,
Fucking, you won't have any ants or any bug problem
fuck them up.
if you put that all around your house. Oh yeah, these the shit, and it
Yeah, I
doesn't
like
harm
it.
your dog. It doesn't harm animals,
Doesn't
and you
hurt
can eat.
bees. It's
Yeah,
just the little
no,
super shitty bugs.
yep.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. But
um, can you tell me? I need to know. I mean, you've taught me a lot in the last 2 years. This is our 76th episode together. You teach me so much. So tell me about. I need to know about this term. Some of the terminology, though. This is
yeah.
way above my fucking pay grade here.
So we're just gonna talking about bioworks today because there are, and this is with a lot of we're talking about bioworks because I'm most comfortable with bioworks, and I've talked. They're very accessible. You can email them, you can call them. I've talked to multiple of their reps multiple times. They have a lot of really great information, so you can really like. It's just I really like that company. I know there are other companies out there. BioMarone, I think, is one that does a lot of biological IPM. But and they do use some of the same terminology, but I'm not sure that it's all exactly the same. So I know for sure with Bioworks, okay, when you see, it'll say something. It'll say, um, what's it like root shield plus, root shield G, root shield, uh, WP or what it's different ones for all of them, and that means something.
Hmm.
So when you see the HC with them, it's hydroponic concentrate. So if you are in a hydroponic system, if you're automatically dosing, taking it out of a doser, that's what you're looking for. That's just that way you can, hey, yeah, I'm running my IPM this way. Some states it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it automatically doses for you, and it's this is a concentration made to be run with those dosages. The SP is soluble powder. It's kind of like the WP, which we'll talk about next, but the soluble powder dissolved. Where the WP wettable powder, that does not dissolve. That like stays in the water. You have to like constantly agitate it. So it stays suspended. It stays suspended. And so, I mean, if you don't agitate it for a second, you're cool. But like, you want to like
Beat
DE.
the shit out of it. Beat the
DE, if you
shit out of
spray
it.
DE, I say so many times, 50 grams per gallon. If you don't have a puffer or you're inside or something, spray that shit. Put a little soap in there, drop down the water tension, get those small ass little droplets. You're going to love it. SP and WP, the soluble powder, wettable powder. Soluble means it just completely dissolves. Wettable means you need some agitation. HB, which I actually had to look like I never used HB before. It's high biocontrol. Just means it has a very high percent of microorganisms or biocontrols in it. G is granules. Granules are typically better like to put in your soil. So there's some different granules out there that like there's a lot that you can treat the soil for to protect you against powdery mildew, botrytis, fusarium, and pythium. And so a lot of granules are an option there. And then you'll notice plus behind a couple things. And plus just means it has something added. In the terms of Root Shield Plus, it uses two different types of trichoderma, which is a fungus, which we'll talk about in a bit. But that's the plus, the second trichoderma. In any of the other root shields, it just has the first trichoderma. And so it has two different, basically, active ingredients, microorganisms, whatever you want to call it, that are fighting these things. Because that's all this is. What we're doing is we're creating a fucking war field in our soil, on our leaf surfaces. If you are a bad disease and you're landing, we're putting our good troops there that are, like taking over a rural little town is a little different than taking over a city. Yeah. And it's about, yeah. And then we re-inoculate,
Charge!
you know?
Charge!
Exactly right. That's what we do. And that's what this is all about. We'll say it a couple times, but it's about preventing it, not reacting to it. That's what this is all about. You prevent it. You don't react to it.
I like that. That should be on a
Yeah.
t-shirt. It should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you have to run this. Because if you wait to see a problem, then it turns the other way. You're spraying or you're doing whatever, and there's already a population of this other fungus or this other bacteria there. And now your troops that you're putting in there, they're fucking storming the beach instead of sitting on the beach, And so it's like, sitting on the beach waiting when one of these spores comes in and they're like, well, there's 5 million of us. Comes the other way around when you get a problem and then you try to react to it,
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, HC, SP, HB, WP, G, and plus.
It's like
All mean
ABC.
something. So
It's like
make sure you
ABC.
pay attention.
ABC. Always be closing, motherfuckers.
Always be closing. Always be cloning. Always be closing.
Remember, WP, HC, SP, HBG plus 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 will get you where you need to be. Big Earl.
Yeah.
What's the direct approach? Like what is that all about? Like what this bioproduct, this bioworks you were talking about. I went on their website. You've told me about them in the past too. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, these are the direct approach. Bioworks is the direct approach. So Bioworks and these defenses use fungus, they use bacteria, And then they use a couple other things like yeast and nematodes and stuff like that. But nematodes is on the bug side.
Nematodes is great. We use that in our garden, and it lasts like 6 years. You only need to
Yeah,
spray
they're
it
real
once.
badass.
Those little motherfuckers chomp on some shit, keep that yard clear of all bugs, and they survive for 6 years. And then you just got to reapply it again. It's harmless. Amazing.
Yeah, they have
Amazing.
nematodes for different levels too. So if you're knowing the bug, if you have a problem, right, and you're trying to use nematodes, or if you've had a problem, knowing the depth of the in the soil that that bug likes to be, um, make sure you're lining that up. You know, a
They
lot of
they
people
they attack the eggs of like fleas, ticks,
they get them all.
fucking. They get ants. They man, they're little like wormy looking dudes. Nematodes. They're cool as hell. So check them out on a microscope on like YouTube or
Yeah,
some shit. And yes, they are put in your garden. You will not have your grass will be looking good for years. I haven't. I just added nematodes back. I think Mrs. Weedman had somebody add back to our garden. I think because we went all organic in our
food
yard
garden.
now. Yeah,
Nice,
our plants and our grass is now all organic.
nice, dude. Your grass looks really
Yes.
good.
Yeah, it's. I just need to fill in some gaps because the last 2 years I didn't add the nematodes, and there were certain things I didn't do in my grass, and these lawn guys kind of killed my grass, and I got now patches. Now I'm fixing. And if you want to learn, I learned something, Earl. I'm kind of researching how to fix grass, not the one
Nice.
you smoke, but I
Uh,
watched. I like TikTok. It's the only social media I have left because they banned me from everywhere else. So
yeah,
I watch TikTok videos a lot, and I like hit research certain things. And if you use TikTok right, it's fucking great. And I learned how to fix my grass organically without
nice.
like destroying anything else, removing what I got,
Do you really
rebuilding
like
what I
some
have.
lime?
So basically, you take peat moss and
Nice,
whatever
nice.
seed of grass that you want, and you put a layer of peat moss, a little spray of some water, sprinkle seed on that, peat moss, uh, seed, peat moss seed, peat moss seed, peat moss seed. So you get it up to the top of the
Oh,
bucket.
lasagna.
Let it sit for, yes, a little fucking peat moss lasagna and seed. Let it sit for 3 days to germinate. And then you take a spackle. So I get the spackle, the fucking concoction on the spots that your grass isn't growing anymore or something
Worked real
happened.
well.
I just put it on today. So it's been sitting for 3 days. So this is something I learned. I hope it works. I put it in one little area to try it out. And I'm asking you, do you think that's a good recipe? Or is it a recipe for fucking nothing? Nothing's gonna be ugots. I'm gonna get nothing out of this. Do
No,
you
I
think
think
it's
that'll be
a
great. Maybe you can press it down a little bit. I
I did.
would, so it
I
doesn't. Okay,
spackled
yeah.
it. I spack
Other than that, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I slopped it like you're doing laying bricks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I slopped it and then pressed it down, slopped it, pressed it down, like you
Oh
like
yeah.
a bricklayer. So I learned
No,
something. I
I
say
think
I
that'll be
try it
great.
out. Save some money, right? It
Yeah,
cost me fucking $20 for the peat moss and the seed. We'll
yeah.
see what happens. I got some good seed. I got some Kentucky bluegrass.
Nice. Well, I mean, the peat moss holds a lot of moisture. That should act really well, especially as it starts getting warmer. So the biggest problem I think with that people have with new seed, not that I'm a super lawn expert, but I've done some shit with lawns, um, is that when planting in the spring, it gets real hot, and you have to water it a little bit more because it's a little bit more
Oh,
prone. That's why.
this peat moss is wet, like
Nice.
really wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
it's been
yeah,
raining.
that's
It's been raining too, so it hasn't had a
yeah,
chance
it's
to really
rain here
dry at
too.
all. Yeah, so
Oh yeah, that'll
basically,
be
I
great.
slop that shit down. We'll see what happens. I'll see if it works. I'll send you some pictures if it works, and then, like I said, if I at least get like some grass growing out of it, then I'll do the other blank spots in the
Nice.
grass,
Yeah.
and we'll figure. And right, it's just like we were just talking about this. I just figured I'd try that out and see what happens. So I learned something. So go
That'll
ahead.
be great. Oh
Sorry.
yeah. No. All right. We can just talk about a couple of their products.
Cool.
So root shield we already talked about. So what root shield is a trichoderma. That's a fungus. Trichoderma, it protects against Pythium and Fusarium is going to be the main ones that uh, cannabis is going to be prone to. And what this is Pythium and Fusarium is a fungus as well. This is like a competing fungus. It competes in the same niche, if you want to call it. And so what you do is depending on how so one thing with this is living, depending on how you're watering is a lot of this, like how often you apply, how much you apply, stuff like that. If you're outside, some of this, especially the soil treatments, you can do like I think Root Shield only had directions for outside, and it was like once a month. And that's complete. That's like just re-inoculating. I bet it would last much longer than that.
Hmm.
But they do have a plus.
Their websites is
Pretty
really
informative.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
oh
agreed.
yeah, it's really good. I'm
Um,
I'm I'm on it right now, and when you sent it to me earlier, I look. I mean, I've heard of you've talked about them to me before, but I never really investigated their website. Really nice and easy to use. They got these little little papers underneath the product that you can click on,
yeah,
label, SDS, compatibility, and info. I like
all of
that.
them.
Oh,
Yeah,
the info is great. It's
dude.
real simple. It's two pages for one I clicked on the and it just gives you what it does. It's fucking great. Nice job.
That's a cool way. Dude, that's why I feel more comfortable talking about them than there are. Like we'll talk about Bavaria Bassiana. There's, I think Bioworks has a Bavaria product, but the most popular one isn't from Bioworks. You know, I have more experience with the other one, which we'll get into. But yeah, Root Shield comes in the plus. The plus is just a different trichoderma species, or one is I'm just going to read this off their webpage basically, but one is Harzianum, and the other one is Virens. And so if you don't get the plus on it, so there's Root Shield, and then there's a Root Shield Plus, and the plus is it comes in granules and wettable powder. The regular Root Shield comes in granules or wettable powder. So if you get the regular one, it's just the Harzianum. Um, but there are other companies that have this type of stuff. Like if you go on their page, you'll see this Trichoderma Harzianum strain T22. That means Bioworks patented that strain. That's the strain they use. Other people will use different trichodermas, other companies, and it's just whatever strain they patent or whatever strain they use. Um, but then you scroll down a little bit, they got the Botry Stop. That's using, I think that's a bacteria. That might be a fungus. I don't know much about Botry Stop because I've never used it. Um, but it's a wettable powder, and that's for botrytis. C's I like a lot. That's a Bacillus subtilis. So that's
Say that again. That's not. Say that one more time.
Bacillus subtilis.
Wicka wicka
Wicka
wham.
wicka. Um, that's a bacteria, I think. Yeah, that's a bacteria, I believe. Um, Fungal and bacterial. That says it right there. Um, but that helps with the. Let me look at the other one with powdery mildew and botrytis.
Hmm.
Uh, and so those are that's that's your four main
Yeah,
candidates.
and the active ingredients in this Epi Shield, I'm just looking because we were talking about mites and aphids and tripes and white flies and bears, oh my, and mealy
Yeah.
bugs. You've mentioned them all. And all the ingredients in there is peppermint oil, clove oil, and sodium lauryl sulfate, which I don't know what that is. But the other two I do know. I use peppermint oil and I use clove oil.
Yeah. Yeah,
What's what?
that's with the bugs, yeah, for sure. And that's not even like one of the bacterials or fungals. That's just
Right.
a
That's organic as you can get right there using
yeah,
those ingredients. That's a pretty amazing, you know.
yeah. And even their Multex, it's an azadirachtin.
Yep.
And some people kind of talk shit about azadirachtin. But when you get into their Multex, it reassures some pretty great stuff. It's a little different than other products.
Hmm.
Um, And then, yeah, principal is their Bavaria Bassiana, which is what we were talking about with that other product. So they do have a Bavaria Bassiana in a wettable powder form. Um, and then their Nema Shield is their nematode product. So, like, it's just the lineup they have, you know, to me, using a root shield and a C's. So C's is you can water it in and you can spray it. Um, I like C's better sprayed, honestly. I like watering in. I don't think it's bad to water it in. You can definitely water it in if you want to, but it runs at 38 milliliters a gallon. It just got kind of expensive. So what I typically do, unless I like maybe in the spring, right? Where it's like, oh, some of this stuff's going to be popping around, or maybe in the fall where some of it's popping around. I like to water in Root Shield and then spray C's.
Hmm.
They also have the potassium bicarbonate. That's going to be like a reactive when you see PM. I mean, you can use it proactively, but I don't know. I've only ever seen people be like, "We have powdery mildew, spray potassium bicarbonate," and then they have hydrogen peroxide also,
Hmm.
which is, if you're in a somewhere where that's going to test, and you're using these kind of late, these are living things. A hydrogen peroxide being able to kill anything you've sprayed or anything that's in the pots coming up to harvest time, that might be something you find beneficial.
Hmm.
I don't like spraying stuff late ever, even when it's just hydrogen peroxide and RO water. It can't be good. But it could be better than other shit.
Hmm. I like, and looking at their website too, they are internationally. I see here the United States, Canada, Mexico, and international. That's pretty cool. I would check this website out, everybody. They're not sponsoring. They're not a sponsor of the show. We don't get any plugs, nothing, no shit like that. Big Earl has talked about this website to me before, and I've gone on, not really investigated, but just looked at it for a minute. When he was talking, I'm looking at it all. I would just to check out the website. I mean, it's pretty dope. It's pretty self-explanatory, and those charts and the little PDFs they bring up. If you click on the chart, I'm a dumbass. So I need more splaining than most people. So, and that actually, I read that. I was like, oh, I get this. It's self-explanatory. Yeah. So, pretty good.
It really
Thanks,
is.
Big Earl.
And not long ago, and by not long ago, it might have been a few years ago, but they bought Sufoil X, which we've talked about. And I really like the mineral oil. Again, not a biological, but super great product. It's if you're trying to contact kill something, Sufoil X leaves almost nothing behind. As far as how late in the flower you can spray it or should spray it, I do not know. But I know, like with veggies and shit and our outdoor hemp, we use a lot of stuff, like all through veg. Once or twice a week we use Sufoil X, because outside it's no joke. You can't, so you get the dusk or the dawn when those nasty bugs are most active. You give those little bad boys a spray. So focus under the leaves. Boom. But, and they also have badass sticky cards, dude. They're not the big, nasty, sticky ones. They're like thin, and like their sticky cards are even superior. So yeah, great Bioworks. Great company.
Sweet. What's the not so direct IPM?
So really, shortest answer to that is everything. But like, I think the biggest overlooked anything, one of the biggest reasons the watering has to be so perfect, and you can grow a plant without it being that way, but a happy plant is like everything. Bugs can literally smell out a stressed plant. And those stressed plants, their cell walls are not as thick and not as strong, and they can't defend themselves. It's just like with a person. When you're sick, and then when you got the flu, and then somebody gives you COVID, well, it's like fuck, like
right.
But yeah, having happy plants, just getting things down, keeping it in the VPD, measuring that stuff. You don't have to buy these different things like a par meter, but at least look at the charts of the lights you have and see what they're saying, and keeping this plant as happy as possible.
Yeah.
Knowing your stressors, that's a big one. Saying, okay, I can grow this completely perfectly, but I want to stress it in this way a little bit and that way a little bit. Silicas are great. Silica strengthens the cell walls. Diatomaceous earth is very high in silica. Now there's thoughts out there that or that it won't break down in a grow season to be able to be as usable to the plant. But either way, bugs hate it. Top dress breaks down a little bit, and you're top dressing with a bunch. You're still getting some silica. Insect frass. Insect frass is basically shells of bugs. It makes your plant think it has a bug problem, and so it boosts up its immune system.
Damn.
Yeah, and so
can humans eat that? Because I love boosting up my immune system as much as possible. I ain't getting any younger. You know what I'm saying?
So here's how crazy it would be. Maybe experiment. You don't want to eat it, but So what's crazy is the plant, these shells of these insects, when they start breaking down into the soil, I think it's called chitin or chitin. Man, I'm having a brain fart on that. But when it starts breaking down in the soil, the bug reads something, or the plant reads something, and literally thinks it has a bug problem. And it says, "Holy shit, we need to defend ourselves," but it doesn't. So you're just boosting your defense. But it is a slight stressor.
Hmm.
If your lights are too heavy, a slight stressor. If you're feeding over a 2 point, I mean, if you have a salt buildup, a slight stressor, like it's okay to have a salt buildup. Know what it is, know where it's at. Like I run a 1.8 to a 2.2, 2.3 EC. A lot of people run way higher than that get some of the different weights that we want and talk about. But I play my salt buildup. I read my pots, and it tells me, hey, bro, maybe one of the feeders got clogged. I got 4 feeders in most of my pots. Maybe one of the feeders got clogged. All of a sudden, what I thought was going to be a 15, 20% runoff is a 5% runoff or something, or no runoff. And I don't realize it. Well, if I'm reading my pots, I can catch it. I can say, okay. And more importantly, I know, hey, this plant is looking so beautiful. So I'm going to run a little bit of a heavier EC. I'm going to run a little bit heavier this. Or, hey, this plant, got dry week 4. I'm not stressing it anymore. I'm running the perfect everything in here. I'm going to play it a little light on it. But that happy plant. Um, Other funguses and bacteria that we didn't talk about. Just having organics and having the funguses and bacteria in the organics. It's just things in areas. It's harder to take over a city we already talked about, like than a small town, because there's so many people in the city. And so it's like same difference. If your soil is super active and there's tons of bacteria and funguses in there, when a bad bacteria and fungus lands in that soil, it's going to be way harder for it to produce more or affect the plant, because those other ones are there. Mycorrhizae and different stuff surround the roots. They're in the area. Like it's
Hmm.
harder to be there and to reproduce for them. Proper airflow. My God, we talk about
That's
it so
Big
much.
Earl's number one right there. Proper airflow,
Proper
everybody.
airflow.
I knew it
It's
had to come up
so
sometime
important.
today.
Yeah,
We
it is. It is though. Like so, you have. I really am a big fan of inline fans, not barrel, but I forget what they call the like centrifugal or something. The fans that blow straight. If you have a barrel fan, that fan is not blowing air straight out. It's pushing air to the side. If you're blowing that up, it's creating a mushroom effect. So you're not really like moving air that much. But like Max fans have some great ones. I mean, there's a lot of other great ones, but most of mine are Max. They're quiet. They're slightly expensive, but I like to move air around everything a lot. In doing that, it moves over the plant at least a little. And you don't want to like blast the plant with air, but the reasoning for this is when I'm moving it around a lot, if a bug gets into my room, it might fly right into that path and just get blasted against the wall, or just get blown so hard in the like it just doesn't. It creates a barrier and just an extra barrier to have to get through. And so if you're doing that around everything, or if you're at least like getting under your canopy and over your canopy, a bug comes in, goes to land on your flower, gets hit with this rotating fan, and it pushes against the wall or pushes it on its back against the flower so it dies instead of just being alive and being able to land wherever it wants. And just not having airflow is the death of you. We're going to talk about VPD and honest and top dresses. Diatomaceous earth and sulfur. Sulfur is such a badass to top dress. You can get the cheap ass sulfur mixed with like going back and forth with DE is so badass. It's good for not only bug prevention but flavor and cell like thickening the silica. For your plants, thickening cell walls and like DE and
you just put
sulfur.
that. Do you mix that? Do you just put that right on top?
Yeah,
You
just top
you
dressing.
top dress it.
I
That's
take
it.
a fucking
Back
spoon.
and forth, and
My
just
wife just had to go buy a bunch of spoons. She goes, "Where's going on with the spoons?" It's like, I take a spoon. I forget it around places sometimes, and then I find like 6 of them,
no,
and she doesn't
really.
want them.
After
Yeah,
after like your third joint of the day, I'd forget. I
yeah.
leave shit around too.
Where the hell's that spoon? Where's my sulfur spoon at? I just gotta go grab another one. I take a spoon and I literally just sprinkle it on the top, and I do that. I do it every other week. Um, like every third week. But so it's like 3 times usually in a plant's life. And before I add, so if I go in, I notice DE is still present in some areas because like where my feeders come down, it washes that DE away. Then I will hand feed and I'll try to rush that in a little bit, and then I go with sulfur. And then I do the same thing with sulfur. If I notice some of it like caked up or did this or that, I try to hand water to get that broken up, and then I go over the top of it with DE. It is better to wait for it to dry a little bit before adding DE at least. Sulfur doesn't matter as much, but DE, the drier, when you put it on there and it's wet, it'll cake up more, it'll lose its effectiveness. If you wait a bit till it's just a little drier, just when you add it, um, it'll at least have until your next watering,
Right.
to be pretty effective. So, but yeah, top dresses. A lot of people, you don't, it doesn't, just because you top dressing doesn't mean it has to be organic or any of that stuff. There's a lot of nice IPM top dress.
Nice. What about if we're outside? Like I have a plant outside right now.
Yeah, bring in the flowers, man. Don't monocrop that shit. Plants aren't meant to be monocropped. Bring in other flowers. Bring in pollinating bugs, because they eat the shitty bugs. So when you have a good population of ladybugs and other every wasp and other things that eat the bugs you don't like, the bugs you don't like don't come.
Yeah, we have a nice garden out back. It's all Illinois native plants.
Nice, very
Native
cool.
plant garden. Yeah. So that's where I have it right there. And we just laid cedar down all over there too to protect as a top
Great.
dress. Yeah.
Yeah, bugs will hate
So
that too.
oh yeah. So the whole yard, all of the plant is now laid with chopped up cedar. So
Nice, yeah, dude, I love
yeah.
cedar. I found a lady who's getting rid. I went against my what I would suggest to anyone, and got this lady had a big pile of just like mulch, and she was just giving it away. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna go grab. Like, I just need to like re up a couple spots,
Right.
freshen a few things up. And all my wood chips are cedar right now, and I'm gonna hit it with DE for sure. It stopped raining for the first time since I got it like 5 days ago,
Nice.
just now. But it the cedar's great. The cedar bugs hate it. It does its job. It lasts a pretty long time because it's mold and mildew resistant.
Oh, it is nice.
Yeah.
You know what I love about it is that every time I walk outside, it smells like I'm in a fucking
Mm-hmm.
gerbil cage. I
Oh
love
yeah. Smells
reminded me when I had a
delicious.
hamster as a kid.
It's
So
not overly expensive either. I mean, if you get the
no.
bags, it can be, I guess. But if you get it, like, you can get yards of it for
Oh,
decently.
we got yards of it. It's not
Yeah.
cheap, but it was
Yeah.
cheap for how much we needed. We needed a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot. So and we're also putting it out in our back alleyway too. So but
Yeah.
I mean it looks badass. It's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
dope.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
it's dope as hell. Um yeah, so what else? Anything else about monocrop and like I just talked about?
No. No, not really. Just, when you're outside, you have a lot of other options. The bugs can get right there, but if you do a few things right, put up a ladybug house. Research what the bugs you want to bring in, know your area a little bit. If you get a problem every year, research, best bugs for that area, how to draw them in, how to do this and that.
Praying
Um,
mantis. Gotta get the praying
yeah.
mantis.
And, you know, a, a lot of the industry doesn't do things so organically, so biologically, because reactive is cheaper. On the front end, on the back end, I'd have to argue it's usually probably way more expensive. But on the front end, instead of running all these products we're talking about and saying, well, we don't see a problem or we haven't seen a problem for 5 years or whatever, most very large gardens wait to react. Um, but when you're trying to use these biologicals, they will not work for you that way. You might be able to control a problem. You might be able to help yourself with them, but you really need to have an established, you know, network already there of these funguses and bacteria that you're using. And when you have the problem, you try to bring them in. You're fighting a losing battle there. So just be on top. If you're going to go this way, be preventative, proactive, not reactive. And, yeah, just, like I said, do it preventively. Don't not spray it next week because you haven't seen a bug. Use
There it
it.
is.
Put down on your calendar. Hey, it'll tell you on there. Spray every 3 to 10 days. Spray every 7 to 14 days. Use this amount. You don't see any bugs? Cool. Spray the very lowest amount on the longest days. It says 7 to 14 days, 3 to 8 milliliters per gallon. Cool. 3 milliliters every 14 days. Boom. But just make sure you do it. And if you're not, I mean, it's what it is. There's plenty of ways to protect your plant.
I like the proactive, not reactive line at the end there.
It's necessary. It's necessary for a lot of things in life.
It's great.
You know,
need to put proactive on the front, not reactive on the back. So people see it on the front and the back. I love that fucking line. Proactive, not reactive. Remember that, everybody. Big Earl, tell us a little bit about Generation Zero, will you please?
Yeah. We've been having fun at Generation Zero. You know, we've been just continuing to clean plants. We got a lot of our newer stuff coming down soon, so we can have tests on it. We're doing some different collaborations with some different people, and a lot of this stuff takes a long time, you know. And but we're gonna be having some really fun stuff soon. We have clones almost always, especially if Generation 2s are cool. Generation Zeros sometimes take us a little bit of time to get to you, rooted. But we have a pretty decent library, and pretty soon we're going to have a lot of stuff tested. Nice. Some old school stuff, some new school stuff, cup winners, these, that's. You know, a lot of it just takes a long time, man. When like a real meristem, you're talking 9 to 12 months to come back. So
wow.
We're trying to do most of our work from meristem now through some of the trials and tribulations. You know, we won't even do at the lab at Deep Roots. We won't even do regular nodal cultures. Just too much can get through. We put the whole library at risk if we don't take it down to a meristem. Wow. So, or at least a microculture, which is what most people call a meristem. But almost the whole industry does it wrong. So that's not me being an asshole. That's almost the whole industry will sit there. If you can see it, it is not a meristem. It's really hard to do a meristem. You can literally smash it with the sharp side of the scalpel. So it's really hard to do a meristem. Most people out there selling meristems are not doing it correctly. I've seen maybe 2 people where it was like when they showed it, it was like, oh shit, it's a speck on the tip of a scalpel. If it's bigger than that, it can be considered microculture for sure. But it's not a true meristem if you have any of the leaves on it or anything at all going down.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
Little disclaimer.
Right.
But yeah, man, we're having a lot of fun there. We're doing a lot of different stuff, honestly, and new stuff. There's a lot of research now that's out there that kind of helps guide this and that, and trying a lot of different stuff and different ways of all kinds of stuff. So we haven't been super active, but we've been building, like in the community at least, but we've been building and just kind of getting our foundation correct. So when we come with this library of 70 whatever plants we have, all from meristem, all tested, all, you know, ready to go.
Hell yeah, I love it. What's the handle? What's the handle on Insta?
Generation 0, but it's Generation .0 when the O is an actual 0.
Gotcha. Sweet. Everybody check out Big Earl's Generation 0, and if you need some help, reach out to him. So Big Earl, man, there was one thing we didn't talk about in this fucking IPM though. Something that all fucking soil, plants, everything kind of needs. Fuck, man. What is that? I didn't even see it on the website either, man. This is like the biggie, what we need all the time. What is that called again?
They don't like to admit it, honestly, because it just like negates everything we talked about. If you just use CalMag at 3.5 times its dose daily as a foliar, you don't have to worry about anything ever.
Everybody, thanks for listening. We love you. Don't forget the CalMag. Peace! Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.